Відліку, а що ж ви мовчите? Добре.
Hello, it is 113th day of Ukraine's fight against Russia. I'm Vasil Samakhvalov, and we have with us Anna Machukh, the Executive Director of the Ukrainian Film Academy and Director General of Odessa International Film Festival. We will be discussing the uneasy subject of film and culture during the war. So my first question is about Ukrainian filmmaking during the war and what's going to happen to it after the war. Indeed, before the war, Ukrainian filmmaking was developing fast, and we were winning at international festivals. During the war, of course, our industry has changed, just like many other industries as well. Many of our colleagues, especially actors, are in the army right now. Many colleagues are also supporting the international media as fixers, and also there are many women filmmakers, actors, directors. They have moved abroad to save the lives of their children. Filmmaking, just like many other sectors in Ukraine, is right now not supported by the government. All the money is used to support the army, and we are right now supporting the army, volunteering, but also we are engaged in cultural diplomacy. We were the first professional association that made a call to boycott Russian films. This entailed also the boycott of Russian culture. We continue to work on this because we unfortunately can see some fatigue from the news about Ukraine. Some people perceive that there are good Russians in the culture, and Tchaikovsky, Pushkin, Serebrennikov, and others should remain. So we have to continue our battle. While there is war, there should be no Russian culture internationally. After our victory, that's how we put it, filmmaking will have lots of new flavor to it. The content will be even stronger than it is right now. It is recognized that our documentaries are among the strongest in the Europe, and what our colleagues in the documentary industry are doing right now is that they are filming the documentaries about the war. And in Sheffield, United Kingdom, the first film made during the war will be presented soon. I believe that such documentaries will be numerous, and we also hope that these filmmakers will not be dying while they are making these films. Unfortunately, there are some deaths happening already, but this is an important work, and this is sharing the word of what's happening in the world. Speaking of the canceling of Russian culture, our filmmaking was somehow integrated to this info space. We were working for the Ukrainian and Russian market as well. So what is going to happen with the mass cinema after the war? Well, since 2014, we were not aiming for the two markets. There were some exceptions, some producers, such companies selling our films, but all those who had the clear understanding that it was not the anti-terroristic operation or joint forces operation, it was real war, these people decided not to work with Russia. And speaking of what's going to happen, we are going to keep developing the Ukrainian market, but the war has shown many new ways for Ukraine to move forward to Europe and the world. We can see this in other industries as well. But speaking of filmmaking, we are present at every international platform. In many festivals, we can observe special sections with Ukrainian films, and I do hope this trend is going to continue, because previously many people perceived Ukraine as a satellite of Russia, but right now they see that we are a strong, independent nation with talented artists. Speaking of the film festivals and Odessa Festival, among others, please share if we will have it this year, and whether we should take part in international festivals such as Cannes, which has happened recently. Well, that's the festival concerning which we wrote a lot to different institutions calling upon full boycott of Russia. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. They only banned the Russian media, the official Russian delegation. There was no Russian pavilion, but there was a Russian film by Kirill Serebrennikov, the wife of Tchaikovsky, and there were representatives of the filmmaking community. And we all heard what Serebrennikov has mentioned during the press conference, that the families of Russian soldiers should be supported, the ones who died in the battlefield. So this is, of course, is unacceptable, and the entire community has also supported the exclusion of Sirhi Alazniza from the Ukrainian Film Academy for his participation in the Russian festival. And he represented his film. He also took part in the press conference, and we learned from him that there are Nazis in Ukraine. But still, Cannes gave some opportunities for Ukraine. There were some work in progress projects, and we have quite a big number of high quality Ukrainian films right now taking part in festivals, but some films cannot be completed in Ukraine right now, and they need international financing right now, and many of them were able to find this support. This is also exactly what the Odessa International Film Festival is doing right now. For 12 years, we were thinking about the audience first and foremost, for the Ukrainian audience to see Ukrainian and international films. But right now, in the current conditions, the Odessa International Film Festivals is happening throughout the year on international platforms, and the intention is to support the Ukrainian filmmaking. So, for instance, in Karlovy Vary, there will be a presentation of Ukrainian work in progress. Also, there will be a Ukrainian industry session at the Warsaw Film Festival. Also in Pristina, Kosovo, the country which has a similar history to what's happening right now, there will be a pitching of the ideas, the scenarios, the projects which have not yet started. So, okay, we can complete the ones that have started already, but we also need to start something for the future, for the filmmaking to continue. So that's another important area of work, to find financing and partners for the new films. Also, we are screening Ukrainian films internationally to introduce the audiences to the culture, to the history, and the selection of this film is intended to show diversity, to show people's stories, and virtually all of our films also in one way or another spoke about the war that we've had since 2014. I've recently came back from Norway, and we will also have some screening in Portugal, and there will be other festivals as well where we will hold the screenings. Also, we arrange round-table discussions at different festivals where we discuss our cultural fight, and we are including the broad cultural community to this discussion. Any questions from the floor? Irina Odotenko, Ukraine Forum. Can you please share what genres in Ukrainian filmmaking are preferred in screening and in the development and production? Well, just a couple of years ago, we only had three genres. We had historical dramas, social dramas, and comedy. What I'm observing right now, we were selecting projects for the Pristina International Film Festival for the pitching, and we saw that the diversity of genre increases. And right now, there are ideas of films not only about the situation in the war and the circumstances during the war. There are horror films, there are other types of films. So our filmmakers are inspired by the fact that we are being supported by the world, by Europe, and so right now a new genre are being introduced, and hopefully we will see those films in a couple of years. Other questions, please? Well, otherwise I want to ask a question. What will be the films about victory like? I believe that in the first years after the victory, judging from what is observed in the moods of the people, this should be mainly comedies with some elements of drama, but we have to process this psychologically. We have to recall those stories about stolen tanks, about the tomato jars, etc. So this will be the first films after the victory, but over the years, gradually, we are probably going to see something like the cyborgs that we saw a couple of years after 2014 about the airport in Donetsk. In the same way, these films will be telling about the strengths and power and pride of our people, pride of our army, but until then, there should be some period to process it, both for the filmmakers and for the audience, because we all have PTSD and we all have to process these events. And speaking of the films that are developed right now, this will be international format, much more international than we ever had before. Many new countries are joining, many new films are being made in co-production, and so new countries are contributing to these projects and these films. So not only us are going to film the war. Many international teams are going to come from Europe and the Americas. Is it possible that this will contribute to the development of Ukrainian filmmaking after the war? Yes, sure. They will bring in their ideas, their vision, and some joint teams. This is always what's happening. It's not only an international team just working in Ukraine. This will contribute to the development of communication and exchange of experience for our filmmakers. Thank you so much. This was Anna Machukh, the Executive Director of the Ukrainian Film Academy and also the Executive Director of Odessa International Film Festival. We are going to resume our work in 45 minutes. Thank you.